Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Raisha Sehgal. On the show tonight, we will tell you how Kashmiris are rising against terror and showing Pakistan what Kashmiriyat truly means. There's a sense of unity in the valley from the lawmakers to the people of Kashmir. They all are revolting against terrorism. We'll also tell you about India's Rafale power boost. After India and France signed the Rafale jet deal worth rupees 63,000 crore rupees. And finally, Canada heads to polls today. It's a face-off between the incumbent Prime Minister Mark Carney and Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. Who will be the next Prime Minister of Canada? Will it be a banker or a career politician? All that and a lot more lined up for you on the show. Let's get you started. And we're starting with some breaking news at this hour. Bracing for a strong response from India, a rattled Pakistan has launched two major air warfare drills. Sources to WION suggest that the Pakistan Air Force has commenced these exercises in the Central and Northern Air Command starting today. The two exercises, named Fiza-e-Badr and Lalkar-e-Momin, will be held simultaneously. That's in the northern and the central AORs, respectively. The Pakistan Air Force will deploy the majority of its manned combat fleet in these AORs for the next few days. During these exercises, alongside unmanned systems, long-range air defense, electronic warfare with complete integrated command and control of the battle space. Now, within the Southern Air Command's exercises, which started earlier and are ending tomorrow, all three regional commands of the PAF will be deployed for separate exercises tonight. Pakistan's Defence Minister Khwaja Asif has stoked fears of a looming Indian military incursion. In a stark warning, Asif declared that Islamabad has reinforced its forces in anticipation of what he calls an imminent strike by India, escalating the already volatile situation between the two nuclear-armed rivals, while refusing to detail the nature of these decisions. Asif emphasized that Pakistan's nuclear arsenal would only be deployed if there is a direct existential threat. This nuclear rhetoric adds a chilling dimension to the crisis, raising fears of a dangerous escalation between the two countries with a history of conflict. And well, for more on this, we are now being joined by special correspondent Idris Lone. Idris, you're joining us live from Srinagar. First up, I want to talk to you about the on-ground sentiment. But first, get us up to speed with the anti-terror operations underway. What's the latest on that?
Well, Raisha, multiple operations being carried out by security forces in various districts of Jammu and Kashmir. If we talk about Anantnag district, we saw multiple combing operations of security forces, not only at Baisaran where the main attack took place, but in the adjacent areas as well. The dense forest, which is just next to the Baisaran meadow, we are seeing that security forces are carrying out a search operation still in the dense forest area. We've seen not only Indian Army, Jammu and Kashmir Police, but paramilitary forces, but also the commandos from Indian Army and CRPF have joined them as well. There's an aerial survey with the help of drones as well as helicopters being done of the region as well. We were told by our security sources that there were 4 instances where they came very close to the terrorists. At one place there was a brief gunfight also, but they still managed to flee from the spot. On the other hand, we're also seeing a lot of raids being carried out by Jammu and Kashmir Police along with the paramilitary forces across various districts. In Doda and Kishtwar, there were 13 raids that were done by Jammu and Kashmir Police on the houses of over-the-ground workers. Security forces believe that there were 10 over-the-ground workers who were in constant contact with the terrorists who were involved in the Pahalgam attack. We've seen in Srinagar also, just day before yesterday, there were 63 raids on the over-the-ground workers' houses across the Srinagar city. So in every district of Jammu and Kashmir, we're seeing that anti-terror operations have been intensified, while as the main operation in Anantnag also continues.
Right, Idris, while the operations are underway, I want to talk to you about the overall sentiment in the valley and how Kashmiris are rising against terror. There's perhaps a sense of unity that we are seeing in the valley. Tell us more.
Well, absolutely. On the ground, we've never seen this much of anger among the people. Everyone out on the streets, from students to traders' bodies to travel and tour operators, everyone, including the politicians. There was a special assembly session which was held in Jammu today, wherein all the political parties, for the first time ever, we've seen all together in one voice condemning the terror attack, the Pahalgam attack. We've also seen a great statement actually made by Umar Abdullah today, where he not only condemned the attack, but also said that this is not a time to do politics. They have gathered, all the political parties have gathered in the assembly to condemn the attack and also call for peace and harmony, not only in Jammu and Kashmir, but across the country. So all the voices that are coming out, we are seeing for the first time that it has been resounding in the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly as well as we are seeing on the ground that people have come out in huge numbers condemning the terror attack that has taken place, in which 26 people were killed. It was one of the rarest attacks that have taken place in Jammu and Kashmir in decades, and that is one of the reasons everybody is out on the streets.
Right, thanks very much, Idris, for getting us the latest and joining us on the show. India's military might just got a thunderous upgrade. India has inked a deal to buy 26 marine variants of Rafale fighter jets from France. And this as tensions with Pakistan reach fever pitch after the Pahalgam terror attack. New Delhi is sending an unmistakable message. India is not just ready, it is redefining the rules of engagement. Our next report telling you more.
India signs a landmark deal with France to acquire 26 state-of-the-art Rafale marine fighter jets for its navy, a $7.4 billion deal. These cutting-edge aircraft will be deployed on INS Vikramaditya and INS Vikrant, transforming India's aircraft carriers into floating fortresses. The Rafale is only the tip of the spear. India's arsenal is bristling with the world's fastest and most lethal missiles. The BrahMos supersonic cruise missile, now upgraded to strike targets up to 800 kilometers away, gives India the power to neutralize enemy bases deep inside hostile territory without ever crossing the border. On Sunday, along with the BrahMos, the Indian Navy successfully conducted multiple anti-ship missile firings in the Arabian Sea. On 25th April, India announced a major breakthrough with the successful test of a long-duration scramjet engine, a critical step towards operational hypersonic missiles. This cutting-edge technology could soon place India in the elite club of nations capable of deploying hypersonic cruise missiles that fly at speeds exceeding Mach 5, making interception near impossible. India has been focusing on rapidly modernizing its arsenal. Let's now take a look at the strides made by the Indian military in recent times. Pralay missile, a short-range ballistic killer ready to wipe out enemy bases. With a payload capacity ranging from 500 to 1,000 kilograms, it boasts an operational range up to 500 kilometers. Astra Mk1 and Mk2 missiles, air-to-air missiles giving Indian jets lethal beyond visual range punch. Spice 2000 bombs used to flatten terror camps in Balakot. Developed by Israel, SPICE stands for Smart, Precise Impact, Cost-Effective. The bomb comes from a family of standoff air-to-ground weapon systems. SAAW, smart bombs that cripple enemy air bases without stepping inside hostile territory. Tejas Mark 1A, indigenous fighters now deployed to frontline bases armed to the teeth. Mirage 2000 upgrades, the old warriors now deadlier than ever, packed with new radars, weapons and electronic warfare systems. This lethal combination of new Rafale jets, hypersonic missile breakthroughs, BrahMos dominance and upgraded fighter fleets ensures that India's military is faster, smarter and deadlier than ever. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Kashmiris are rising against the forces that seek to divide them. They are standing firm against Pakistan-sponsored terrorism. The Pakistani establishment makes big claims, but what they fail to see or choose to ignore is how Kashmiris have united to show to those spreading terror in the name of Kashmir just what Kashmiriyat truly means. Take a look at these visuals on your screen. On Monday, in Srinagar, traders, NGOs and students gathered to demonstrate the Pahalgam attack. The Indian tricolour in hand, demonstrators said, and I quote here, "This is our Kashmir and we will rise against terrorism." They sent a powerful message. Kashmir is against terrorism and the spirit of hospitality and harmony that defines Kashmir will not be jeopardized. And Pahalgam itself was undeterred. On Monday, children took buses to go to schools, shops reopened after almost a week of demonstrations against the deadly attack. In the immediate aftermath of the attack, tourism, which is the backbone of Kashmir's economy, suffered. Once bustling with upwards of 5,000 to 7,000 tourists daily, the area saw a dramatic reduction to merely 50 to 100 visitors following the terror strike. Just last year, it had hit a record of over 3 million visitors. But 5 days after the attack, a wave of resilience emerged, with tourists seen roaming the streets of Pahalgam, expressing admiration for its unmatched beauty and warmth of its people. And this morning, The Jammu and Kashmir Assembly, which convened on Monday for a special session over the Pahalgam attack, observed a 2-minute silence to pay respect to the 26 people killed by the terrorists. The lawmakers condemned the attack and endorsed the central government's diplomatic measures against Pakistan. Deputy Chief Minister Surendra Chaudhary also moved a resolution which called the attack an assault on the ethos of Kashmiriyat. Perhaps the most powerful statement which came from the Chief Minister Omar Abdullah condemning the attack. Abdullah called for hope. He said that the whole of Kashmir is united against this attack and that this may mark the beginning of the end of terror in the valley. Abdullah also read out the names and states of each of the 26 victims of the terror attack to pay his tributes.
इस हमले के साथ नहीं है। इस हमले ने हमें अंदर से खोखला किया, लेकिन इस हमले ने, क्योंकि हर खराबी में कहीं ना कहीं हमें कोई रोशनी की किरण ढूंढने की कोशिश करनी चाहिए। बहुत मुश्किल है इन हालात में वो रोशनी ढूंढना, लेकिन स्पीकर साहब, पहली मर्तबा 26 साल में मैंने जम्मू कश्मीर में किसी हमले के बाद लोगों को इस तरह बाहर आते हुए नहीं देखा।
In a rare show of bonhomie, Abdullah's rival party, BJP, also praised Abdullah's response. Leader of the opposition in J&K Assembly, Sunil Sharma, praised the Chief Minister for calling an all-party meeting and the Assembly Speaker, Abdul Rahim, for calling a special session. Leaders, including members of the opposition, have now shown support for the government's response to the tragedy. Importantly, they emphasize that this attack should not be used to divide us along communal lines, as it goes against the very essence of what we represent as a nation.
डीप स्टेट है या एस्टेब्लिशमेंट है पाकिस्तान का, वो तो यही चाहते हैं कि इस देश में हमेशा के लिए हिंदू मुसलमानों के झगड़े चलते रहें। तो इसीलिए उन्होंने हरकत की और उनका वहाँ कश्मीर में जाकर नॉन मुस्लिम को, हमारे हिंदू भाई बहनों को मारने का मकसद एक ही था कि कश्मीर को बताना चाह रहे थे कि यहाँ कोई नॉन मुस्लिम नहीं आ सकता। तो उनका मकसद वही है। तो हम पूरे देशवासियों से अपील कर रहे हैं कि आप ऐसे वक्त पे, अपनी पॉलिटिकल डिफरेंसेस होंगे, मगर आप उन लोगों को कामयाब होने मत दीजिए जो इस देश को कमज़ोर करना चाहते हैं, इसकी यूनिटी को कमज़ोर करने की।
The terrorist attack in Pahalgam has triggered massive outrage and grief among Indians, along with calls for action against terror sponsor Pakistan. In Ahmedabad, effigies were burnt. In New Delhi, a march was taken out towards the Pakistani High Commission, with many of the participants shouting anti-Pakistan chants and holding placards.
De la France se sont rappelés
Not just in India, demonstrations against Pakistan-sponsored terrorism broke out across the world. In Paris, members of the Indian diaspora staged a demonstration in front of the Eiffel Tower. In London, they countered the Pakistani demonstrations outside the Indian High Commission in London. In Canada's Toronto, a group of organizations came together to hold a massive candlelight vigil. According to news agency ANI, more than 500 Canadian Hindus, Jews, Baloch and Iranians gathered on the streets of Toronto to rally against the terror attack and urge the government to declare Pakistan a terrorist country. All of them have one thing in common: the assertion that this is an attack not just on Kashmir, but on the soul of India. In the end, what is Kashmiriyat? It is secularism, communal harmony, and the idea that we stand together irrespective of our differences. It signifies that here in India, we do not divide people by religion, but don't expect the sponsors of terror to understand it. Well, Pakistan continues to test India's patience with repeated ceasefire violations along the line of control, further raising tensions in the region. According to the Indian Army, overnight between Sunday and Monday, Pakistani forces opened unprovoked small arms fire targeting Indian positions in Kupwara and Poonch districts of Jammu and Kashmir. The Indian Army said it retaliated swiftly and firmly without incurring any casualties on its side. This latest incident marked the fourth such consecutive breach by Pakistan along the LOC, which started last Thursday, just hours after India suspended the Indus Waters Treaty in response to the Pahalgam terror attack. The violations along the LOC come just weeks after a brigade commander level flag meeting on April 10th in Poonch, where both the sides had reportedly agreed to uphold the 2021 ceasefire pact. According to reports, during that meeting, India had raised multiple issues, including Pakistan's recent infiltration, IED blasts, and repeated violations along the LOC. But Islamabad seems determined to ignore its own commitments. On Saturday night, Pakistani troops again resorted to small arms fire across the LOC, targeting Tutmari Gali and Rampur sectors. Indian soldiers responded with matching force. Friday night witnessed similar provocations in areas such as Uri, Tangadhar, Kupwara and Gurez. While on Thursday, the first ceasefire violation was reported at the Tutmar Gali. Now, despite 2 rounds of brigade commander flag meetings this year, Pakistan's actions clearly indicate that it has no intention of following the ceasefire agreement or the ceasefire understanding. And India's message is clear. Any act of aggression along the LOC will be met with immediate and decisive retaliation. Well, in other news, the Taliban has opened a war front along Pakistan's volatile border. Pakistan's military has announced that it killed 54 militants who attempted to cross over from Afghanistan, underlining the severe threats brewing at its fronts. All this even as tensions with India threaten to spiral out of control. According to the Pakistan Army, the operation started late Friday and continued into Saturday night in North Waziristan district, a rugged part of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, right along the Afghan border. Troops monitoring the sector spotted a large group of militants moving in and swiftly launched an operation, claiming to kill all 54 militants. A large stockpile of weapons and explosives was also recovered in the operation. Interestingly, the Pakistani military has remained silent about any losses or injuries among its own forces, raising more questions than answers. The magnitude of the militant deaths marks one of the bloodiest episodes Pakistan has witnessed since the Taliban seized control of Afghanistan nearly 4 years ago following the US withdrawal. Since then, Pakistan's western borders have steadily descended into a hotbed of violence. The banned outfit Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, better known as TTP, has ramped up assaults on Pakistani troops, further straining Islamabad's already tense ties with the Afghan Taliban. Well, Pakistan accuses Kabul's rulers of sheltering these fighters, a charge the Taliban leadership flatly denies. The emergence of this front comes as Baloch separatists continue to launch deadly attacks in southwest Pakistan. And on the eastern flank, the situation remains tense following the Pahalgam terror attack last week. Pakistan now ranks second on the global terror index for 2025, with terror-related deaths shooting up by staggering 45% last year, reaching 1,000 fatalities. Pakistan's multiple security challenges have never looked more dangerous, and the worst may be yet to come. Let's now tell you what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. In the latest from the Ukraine-Russia war, the Russian president has announced a 72-hour May ceasefire in Ukraine. The Kremlin said that the ceasefire would run from the morning of 8th May until the 11th of May. From Bangladesh, we will tell you how radical Islamist group Hifazat-e-Islam has warned the country's chief advisor Mohammad Yunus against implementing the Women's Affairs Reform Commission proposals. And finally, we will tell you about a new generation of warriors in Kenya. Shifting focus to the Ukraine war, Russian President Vladimir Putin has declared a 3-day ceasefire in the war to mark the 80th anniversary of the Soviet Union and its allies' victory in World War II. On Monday, the Kremlin said that the 72-hour ceasefire would begin on May 8th and conclude on May 11th. Moscow urged Ukraine to join in the truce as well. However, the statement warned that if there were any violations by the Ukrainian side, Russia's armed forces would respond in an adequate and effective manner. Shortly after the Kremlin announced this second unilateral truce in Ukraine, Moscow residents expressed support for the ceasefire but also expressed doubts about its longevity.
If he decided that the ceasefire is needed, I think it's a very well considered. It's not just something. Well, as for our opinion, we are not politicians. They know better. One thing I can say is that we trust a lot.
Ceasefire is good. I don't know if Zelensky will agree to it or not. He's the one who has been pulling tricks. I fully support the ceasefire.
Well, before the ceasefire was announced, the Russian Defense Ministry reported that its troops had taken control of the settlement of Kamainka in Ukraine's northeastern Kharkiv region. On the same day, the Russian Defense Ministry released footage of demining operations conducted in villages in the Kursk region that it says has been completely retaken from Ukrainian forces. The Russian military personnel were seen collecting various types of mines to prepare for controlled explosions afterward. Putin also reportedly telephoned his top commanders in Kursk to congratulate them on their victory and the successful conclusion of the operation to expel Ukrainian forces from the region. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says that Ukrainian forces remained active in the Kursk and Belgorod regions of Russia. He acknowledged the challenging situation in many areas, but emphasized that Ukrainian forces were actively engaged in defensive operations in a bid to resist the Russian advances in the Kursk region. In yet another development, Russia's state television aired footage showing North Korean soldiers training in Russia. Earlier, Putin expressed his personal gratitude to North Korean leader Kim Jong-un for the role played by the North Korean troops in driving Ukrainian troops out of Kursk. And remember, this is for the first time in war that North Korea has confirmed that it had sent troops to fight for Russia. As far as Putin's ceasefire announcement on Monday is concerned, there was no immediate response from Kiev. And this is the second such proposal put forth by Putin following the 30-hour Easter ceasefire that both the sides accused each other of violating various times. On Monday, US President Donald Trump has called for a permanent ceasefire to end Russia's war in Ukraine. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told reporters that Trump was increasingly frustrated with both Putin and Zelensky and urged them to come to the negotiating table to bring an end to the ongoing war.
He thinks that he is increasingly frustrated with leaders of both countries. He wants to see a permanent ceasefire. I understand Vladimir Putin this morning offered a temporary ceasefire. The president has made it clear he wants to see a permanent ceasefire first to stop the killing, stop the bloodshed. And while he remains optimistic he can strike a deal.
The United States has been bombing Houthi positions in Yemen for the past 43 days with the aim of neutralizing what they claim is a growing threat to shipping routes in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. According to the Houthis, at least a latest US airstrike devastated a migrant detention center deep inside the Houthi stronghold of Sada earlier today. At least 68 people lost their lives in that single attack by the US. In a statement, the U.S. Military Central Command said it would offer no specific details of its extensive airstrike campaign in Yemen. Eyewitnesses on the ground described the attack. A Yemeni citizen accused American forces of attacking defenseless prisoners, many of whom still remain trapped under the wreckage.
These are strikes by the American Zionist aviation in Saada Governorate on the detention center. These are innocent prisoners who have no connection, and they are in tens, if not in hundreds, still under the rubble and torn to shreds.
Hospital staff in Sada said they are treating dozens of patients with emergency surgeries underway.
They hit the African's hangar. We received various surgical cases, ranging from moderate to critical to mild. Medical services were provided, and we are now sorting cases. Some cases were transferred to the surgery department for treatment, while others are being treated on site.
While visuals from Sada reveal the extent of the devastation, the detention center primarily housed African migrants, many of them from Ethiopia and Somalia. Many of these migrants had previously risked the treacherous journey across Yemen, clinging to hopes of reaching Saudi Arabia for work and a better future. According to the Houthi-controlled Interior Ministry, approximately 115 migrants had been detained in the facility when the airstrike hit. U.S. Central Command continues to remain tight-lipped about the details of its military campaign, dubbed Operation Rough Rider. However, officials conceded that since mid-March, American forces have struck over 800 targets across Yemen, killing more than 250 people. The CENTCOM further said, and I am quoting here, the operation has been conducted by a strong assembly of forces, including 2 carrier strike groups. The Houthis, backed by Iran, have shot down at least 7 U.S. MQ-9 Reaper drones since the start of U.S. airstrikes on March 15th. The Iran-backed group also controls the narrative coming out of their war-torn territory. As the U.S. airstrikes continue, the conflict shows no signs of abating at this point of time. Shifting our focus to Iran, over 40 people were killed and over 1,000 people were injured in a massive blast that rocked the Iranian port city of Bandar Abba. And the numbers seem to be mounting. Officials suspect the blast was caused by a fire in a hazardous material storage area, possibly involving chemical materials. Our next report telling you more.
Deadly flames engulfed one of Iran's main and biggest ports. The blast, which tore through the Shahid Rajai container terminal outside of Bandar Abbas in southern Iran on Saturday, left fires raging across the site well into the next day. The explosion was so powerful that it was felt and heard about 50 kilometers away from the site. The damage, however, wasn't limited to the facility itself, as nearby buildings and cars were also affected from the blast. A day after the incident, teams from the Iranian Red Crescent Society dropped bags of what appeared to be fire retardant through an aircraft hatch on the uncontrollable flames burning below. As part of the efforts to control the spread of the fire, planes also sprayed water on the burning site. The aftermath of the event is huge, and to assist with the rescue operations, Russian rescuers arrived in Iran shortly after President Vladimir Putin issued an order to stand by Iran in these hard times. It's not just human beings who are being saved from the rescue op, but also animals who were rescued from the debris. On Sunday, Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian visited those injured and offered deep condolences to the families of those killed in the blast.
I offer my condolences to the bereaved dear families who lost their loved ones in the painful incident at Shahid Raji port, and we wish a speedy recovery to those who were injured. Necessary instructions have been given to the esteemed Minister of Health and the team of experts who are diligently addressing and resolving the issues, and I hope we can resolve the problems that have arisen as soon as possible. And God willing, we will certainly do so.
The country's interior minister called the blast a bitter incident.
This has been a very bitter incident, and up to this moment the death toll is still around 40. We hope it won't go higher, but unfortunately, it's likely to rise.
Even as the investigation is underway to determine the exact cause of the blast, it is being linked to an earlier delivery of a chemical ingredient used to make missile propellant, a charge denied by the Iranian military. However, the Iranian president slammed the buildup of goods, which are dangerous in nature. He also questioned why containers had been stacked at the port for months on end. The timing of the blast is also under scrutiny, as it occurred during the ongoing US-Iran nuclear talks in Oman. And even Iran's arch-rival had earlier expressed its nervousness about the talks. However, so far there has been no indication of a link between the two events. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Polls have opened in Canada in a pivotal election that could reshape the country's political landscape. It is a battle between the Conservatives and the Liberals in Canada. But more than that, this election has evolved into a battle for Canada's sovereignty and economic future. With patriotism and tariffs taking center stage, all thanks to none other than the US President Donald Trump. The newfound patriotism will be put to test today as Canadians vote for the next Prime Minister of the country. The race has been defined by Trump's attacks on Canada, from suggesting that Canada could become the 51st US state to imposing high tariffs on Canada. Trump indeed has emerged as the X factor in the elections. And it's in this context that the two top contenders are battling to finish strong in the Canadian elections. Voters in Canada will essentially be choosing between two starkly different contestants to lead the country. On one hand, there is the Liberal Party leader Mark Carney, who took over as Prime Minister from Justin Trudeau. He says that he is the ideal choice to confront Trump, with his experience as a central banker during periods of economic upheaval, while his supporters mention this as an evidence of his deal-making competence. And his critics cite the very same reasons, the very same attributes as a proof that he is an out-of-touch elitist. So that was about Mark Carney. The second contender is Pierre Poilievre. He is a career politician and has carved out a combative conservative brand that has sparked comparisons to Trump. He has been campaigning on crime, taxes and high prices for food and housing. The Conservative leader has promised to stand firm against Trump but argues that a decade of weak economic performance under Trudeau left Canada vulnerable to hostile US trade policies. And opinion polls show that Canadians believe Carney, a two-time central banker, is a stronger contestant when compared to Poilievre, who has been in Parliament for 2 decades. Polls are now predicting a loss for the Conservatives and its leader, Pierre Poilievre. Well, as Canadians head to the polls and ballots, let's now take a look at the top issues, the issues that matter most to the voters. According to the recent poll conducted by Canada-based research organization, cost of living tops the agenda for 72% of Canadians. This is followed by US President's tariff onslaught on Canada, with 49% people listing it as one of their top 3 issues. Other issues like healthcare, economy and housing affordability features as the most important issues for 39%, 32% and 30% respondents respectively.
Were toast. They were finished. We were all us pundits. We were all writing the Liberals off with good reason, because they were 20 and more points behind. They were at one point they were 27 points behind. The election was over. The Liberals were finished. Well, then enter Trump. He makes his threats against Canada. He begins his tariff war, Canada being its largest trading partner, of course. And look at what you've got. Those polls completely changed. Now the Liberals are allegedly, according to most of the polls, say between 3 and 5 points ahead, which doesn't sound like very much, but because of the mechanics of Canadian elections, it often happens. I've been covering them for 50 years. It often happens that the Conservatives tend to stack up big majorities to win a few seats.
So the question is, will Mark Carney clinch a renewed mandate for Liberals, or Conservatives will usher into a new era under Pierre Poilievre?
To fight, we need to protect, and we need to unite.
A massive power outage knocked out electricity in large parts of Spain, Portugal and also some parts of southern France. In Spain and Portugal, massive power outages shut off traffic lights, causing chaos at airports, train stations and on the roads. European Air Traffic Organization, Eurocontrol, has said that power cut has also disrupted air traffic, affecting flights to and from Madrid, Barcelona and even Lisbon. The cause of the outage that hit Spain, Portugal and parts of southern France was not known immediately. Parts of France also appeared to be affected, according to Spanish media reports, which said Sevilla, Barcelona and Valencia were hit by the outage. Areas bordering Spain are also reporting being hit by the blackout. EU chief says at this point there are no indicators that the massive blackout in Spain is cyber attack. However, Spain's grid operator has now said that power has returned to parts of north, south and west Spain. According to Portugal's grid operator, this outage that has affected Portugal was caused by a fault in the Spanish electricity grid related to a rare atmospheric phenomenon. And that's due to extreme temperature variations in Spain. There were anomalies, oscillations in very high voltage lines. This is known as induced atmospheric variation, which according to the Portugal grid operator led to oscillations causing synchronization on failures between the systems. It led to successive disturbances across the interconnected European network. And these are the visuals from Lisbon, showing halted elevators, people waiting for buses as trains were cancelled amid the massive fire power outage. According to the authorities, Spain intercity trains are impossible to restore due to the blackout. In Madrid, meanwhile, as power outage took place, confusion and disruption also quickly took hold. Traffic lights across the city went dark, causing traffic jams at key intersections. Radio stations reported that parts of the Madrid underground were evacuated and many commuters were left stranded without buses or metro services.
I have never seen anything like what is happening today in Madrid.
All right, as large parts were hit by blackouts, Madrid residents flocked to supermarkets. People were seen buying milk, canned goods and toilet paper, among other non-perishable goods.
I don't know. We've been without electricity for a while now. We don't know how long it's going to be, so we are buying what's possible to buy for the moment.
The blackout across Spain and neighbouring Portugal was such that it cancelled the play at the Madrid Open for the rest of the day. Whereas Spain's nuclear power plants automatically stopped on Monday when a massive blackout hit. The officials said that the diesel generators were keeping them in safe condition. Shifting our focus to Bangladesh, the radical Islamist group Hifazat-e-Islam has now sent a strong warning to Chief Advisor of the interim government, Mohammad Yunus. It said that Yunus will be treated like deposed Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina if the proposals made by the Women's Commission, we're talking about the Women's Affairs Reform Commission, are put into action. In a series of stern warnings at various protest rallies organized across the country, triggered by the Commission's recent report, the Islamist group Hifazat claims that the proposals made by the Commission go against Islamic laws. Not just that. Hifazat leaders also condemn the proposals as being in direct conflict with the Quran and Sunnah, which lay the foundation for Islamic belief and practice. And this matter spiraled quickly out of control when another ultra-Islamist political party, Khilafat Majlis, even demanded the abolition of the Women's Affairs Reform Commission altogether. Last week, the Women's Affairs Reform Commission submitted its report containing a total of 433 recommendations to Yunus, among which is number 1, uniform family law covering marriage, divorce, inheritance and maintenance for women of all religions. To this, a bunch of radical Islamist outfits raised objection, demanding that the government should scrap the unacceptable and controversial recommendations of the Commission with immediate effect. Earlier, the radical groups had worked hand in glove with the student leaders and Yunus government to overthrow the democratically elected government of the Awami League. However, much of that picture is now changing, with unity among these political parties gradually fading. That's since the ouster of Sheikh Hasina in August 2024. In Bangladesh, women's reforms have long been a political flashpoint, with the Commission reaffirming gender justice as the foundation of national progress. But thanks to radical Islamist dogmas, many of these remain unrealized till date. Now the question is, with the radical Islamist groups rallying cry against gender justice and threats against the Yunus government, what lies ahead? That we'll have to wait and watch. On to the world of technology now. Elon Musk's brain chip startup, Neuralink, has achieved another major milestone. The company has successfully implanted its brain interface into a third human patient. Brad Smith, the third person globally to receive a Neuralink brain implant, lives with non-verbal ALS, which is the most common form of motor neuron disease. It's a rare condition that gets worse over time. ALS can result in a person being unable to swallow or even talk. Eventually, it could make breathing impossible without a ventilator, as is the case for Smith. However, thanks to the Neuralink chip, Smith is now able to operate his MacBook Pro and communicate using a digitally recreated version of his very own voice. In a video shared on X, Smith demonstrates how the device has enabled him to communicate once more. Despite initial setbacks with hand movement-based cursor control, Neuralink engineers achieved a breakthrough by enabling Smith to control the on-screen cursor using his tongue. Moreover, to also help in faster communication, the BrainChip startup has created a predictive text system and an intelligent chat app that anticipates responses based on conversations. The app then presents the responses in Smith's cloned voice. Elon Musk says his aim is to enable human brains to communicate directly with computers. In other words, Neuralink wants to build direct communication channels between the brain and the computer. With this latest success, the Neuralink story continues to unfold with immense promise. The question is, what future breakthroughs lie ahead, and how will this technology redefine the field of neurorehabilitation and human augmentation? All right, a new generation of warriors is rising in Kenya in an ancient initiation ceremony in Kenya's Maasai community. Boys become warriors in a sacred rite of passage. Our next report telling you more.
Teenage boys clad in traditional Maasai shukas or blankets brave the morning cold in the highlands overlooking Kenya's Maasai land. They are much tougher than what meets the eye, as they sleep on the forest floor, go hungry for days, and can do without a shower in a whole month, traits which make them ironclad in reality. These are all part of the learning curve of becoming a real-life Maasai warrior. And these kids are challenging all odds to become one. The reason why they are special is because all 900 of them were handpicked for the Maasai warrior training camp, which only happens every 10 to 15 years. The camp essentially teaches Maasai cultural values and leadership skills to the students and prepare them not just for war, but also for life.
We are going to choose our leaders that will lead us through our age groups, and also we are happy to be here to celebrate these cultural practices.
There are a lot of things that could go wrong if you do not mind about culture, as there will be no respect. If you have no respect, you will go and fight with someone who is older than you, and an elder person should not come and fight with a younger one.
Modern times need modern solutions, and the warriors are all for it, all said and done. Maasai warriors have new bullets to dodge, such as climate change and the shrinking of the grazing land, which affects Kenya's 1.2 million Maasai people. WION World is one.
Ajit Kumar, Ricky Cage and Arijit Singh were among a few notable names from the entertainment industry to receive the Padma Awards from President Draupadi Murmu. The award ceremony held at Rashtrapati Bhavan is among the nation's highest civilian honours, conferred in 3 categories. It consists of a range of disciplines including art, social work, public affairs, science and engineering, trade and industry and others. Now coming to the actors, renowned Tamil actor Ajit Kumar was among the top people honoured with the prestigious Padma Bhushan Award for his remarkable contributions to Indian cinema and beyond. Known for his versatility, Ajit has starred in over 61 movies and won 4 Vijay Awards and 3 Tamil Nadu State Movie Awards, among other accolades. Meanwhile, Indian director Shekhar Kapoor, who is the recipient of several accolades, including a BAFTA Award, a National Movie Award and a National Board of Review Award, was awarded the Padma Bhushan. He is known for directing iconic movies like Masoom, Mr. India, Bandit Queen, among others. And talking about the musicians, Bollywood's A-lister singer Arijit Singh has been honoured with Padma Shri. He gained fame when he sang the song Tumi Ho in the 2013 movie Ashiki 2. Some of his hit songs include Ae Watan from Radzi, Suraj Duba Hai from Roy, among many others. Grammy-winning music composer Ricky Cage too has received Padma Shri for his contribution to Indian music. Indian ghazal and playback singer Pankaj Udas, who died in February 2024, was posthumously awarded the Padma Bhushan, India's third highest civilian award by the Government of India. Other notable awardees from the field of cinema include Anant Nag for Padma Bhushan, Shobhana Chandrakumar for Padma Bhushan and Nandamuri for Balakrishna. All right, we now slip into a very short break and we're leaving you with Gravitas Worldview. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching Beyond World is One.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Imagine a world where owning your dream asset is just a click away, where wealth is no longer exclusive to the few. Tokenization, the game changer, transforming assets into digital opportunities. A revolutionary technology opening doors to a new era of investment. Don't miss Token Money Magnet, a bold initiative by Kalp Foundation. Only on Beyond World is One.
WION, India's global voice. The channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. This is WION The World is One. We are glad you're watching. Time now for Pulse. American Joker, the headlines. Pakistan's Defense Minister Khawaja Asif says the Pakistani military has briefed the government about the possibility of an attack by India in view of the deadly Pahalgam terror assault. Polling stations now open across all 6 time zones in Canada, with voting underway to elect the new Prime Minister. It's a close contest between incumbent Mark Carney and Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. Russian President Vladimir Putin announces surprise 3-day ceasefire from the 8th to the 10th of May. The Kremlin signals it is ready to enter unconditional one-on-one peace talks, emphasizes it expects Kiev to take the initiative to signal willingness for dialogue. Foreign ministers of BRICS member nations assemble in Rio de Janeiro. The grouping looks to present a united front in the face of threats emerging from US President Donald Trump's aggressive trade policies. Death toll from the blast at Iran's Shahed Raja port near Bandar Abbas rises to 65, according to state media, with more than 1,200 injured. Reports coming in of small fires continuing to burn even 2 days after the explosion. Thousands of passengers remain stranded across Spain as the country's transport minister says it will be impossible to restore intercity train services completely on Monday due to the blackout. Catholic cardinals agreed to begin a conclave on May 7th to elect a new pope and highlight clerical sexual abuse as one of the key challenges facing Pope Francis's successor. Tensions between India and Pakistan are soaring in the aftermath of the brutal terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam that claimed 26 lives. Pakistan's Defense Minister Khawaja Asif has stoked fears of a looming Indian military incursion. In a stark warning, Asif has declared that Islamabad has reinforced its forces in anticipation of what he calls an imminent strike by India, escalating the already volatile situation between the two nuclear-armed rivals. While refusing to detail the nature of these decisions, Asif emphasized that Pakistan's nuclear arsenal would only be deployed if there is a direct existential threat. This nuclear rhetoric adds a chilling dimension to the crisis, raising fears of a dangerous escalation between the two countries with a history of conflict. Bracing for a strong response from India, Pakistan has launched two major air warfare drills. Sources to WION suggest that the Pakistan Air Force has commenced these exercises in the Central and Northern Air Commands starting today. The two exercises, named Fiza-e-Badr and Lalkar-e-Momin, will be held simultaneously in the northern and central area of responsibility, or ours, respectively. The PAF will deploy the majority of its manned combat fleet in these AORs for the next few days. During these exercises, alongside unmanned systems, long-range air defense, electronic warfare, with complete integrated command and control of the battle space, with the Southern Air Command's exercises, which started earlier and are ending tomorrow. All three regional commands of the PAF will be deployed for separate exercises tonight. Pakistan denies involvement in the Pahalgam bloodbath, as usual, calling for a neutral investigation. India has time and again shown proof of Pakistan's direct involvement in past terror attacks. Now, according to Indian security forces, out of the 4 terrorists who carried out the Pahalgam massacre, 2 are Pakistani. Last week, Khwaja Asif confessed that Pakistan has been harboring terrorists on its soil. Speaking to a television station, he said that Islamabad has been doing this dirty work for decades. India's military might just got a thunderous upgrade. India has inked a deal to buy 26 marine variants of Rafale fighter jets from France as tensions with Pakistan reach fever pitch after the Pahalgam terror attack. New Delhi is sending an unmistakable message. India is not